as I journey through the land, singing as I go, pointing souls to Calvary, to the crimson flow. Many arrows pierce my soul from without within, but my Lord leads me on, through him I must win. Oh, I want to see him, look upon his face, there to sing forever of his saving grace. On the street of glory, let me lift my voice. Cares all past, home at last, ever to rejoice. Let's sing that fourth verse. When before me billows rise from the mighty deep, then my Lord directs my bark, he doth safely keep, and he leads me gently on through this world below. He's a real friend to me, oh, I love him so. Oh, I want to see him, look upon his face, there to sing forever of his saving grace. On the street of glory, let me lift my voice. Cares all past, home at last, ever to rejoice. Amen.
Singing. Lisa? No? Logan? They're chanting for you. I'll be in trouble. All right. Now, okay, number one, this is deadly. Because I'll turn around and hit it. And fall like crazy. So I'll go to that side for PowerPoint stuff. Hey, Caden or Logan, is there a way to turn one of them off? I think it's the same remote, isn't it? All right. Did you slumber today? Blow. Well, last week we had John Saul, and this week we've got Mary Heard. What are you doing sitting there? That's going to confuse me. And Law, don't be offended if the sleeves get rolled up because it's warm in here. But anyway, Mary Heard. You know, it's you hear, but it's heard. Murray Heard. Oh, what an Easter sermon. Murray Heard. All right, so we are going back to John chapter 20, but we're gonna build on a little bit of what Tom said this morning, and I like it when that gets brought out. What I think it does, especially when you talk about a Wednesday crucifixion, it piques people's interest. And hopefully, if anything else, they do what you're supposed to do and get back in there and start reading.
and asked him, what are you doing this weekend? You going to church? You going to church? You going to church? And had a chance to witness to him on Monday, but one of the boys there, he said, oh, I'm going to church tonight. I said, what for? He said, Good Friday. I said, what happened on Good Friday? He goes, Jesus was crucified. I said, who told you that? And then I said, all right, let me go into this Sunday school sermon I had early in the morning with a group of guys. And I just walked them through it, just like, Brother Tom has kind of somewhat taught me, and I've studied, and I'm to the agreement that he was crucified on Wednesday.
I am too. I don't ever hear anybody say that Jonah was in the belly of the whale for part of a day here and a full day here and a part of a day here. You don't hear that. That's never taught.
Yeah.
And their sign was as Jonah was in the belly of the big fish. How long? 3 days. 3 nights.
Really,
so it will be.
Think about it, the Catholic way is 2 nights and 1 day, according to the Jewish calendar.
Yep.
That's what it is.
A piece of a day, a full day, and a piece of another day somehow equals 3 days. And I don't get it. It just seems so. And when you go back, even in the book of Genesis, when they talk about the day, it was the evening and the morning were the first day. And some people will, the devil will, I think, pervert that and say, well, that means that day was 1,000,000 years long. But it's the same word used for every other 24-hour day in the Bible. And that day is Yom. Yom. You hear it Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement. Yom Teruah, the Day of the Awakening Blast. It's a 24-hour day. So we're going to look at that just a little bit coming up. But I'm telling you, the key, now, I really want you to get into the Scriptures and start reading the accounts of the resurrection. If you just read one, you don't have the full picture. You don't have it at all. We're only going to be really reading out of one for most of tonight, but you got to get that full picture, because you got one gospel says Mary talked to an angel, but then you got one that says she walked in and saw 2 angels. And I believe you said it this morning, just because that one gospel records her talking to one does not mean that the other's not there. Not contradictions. But you want a good, well-rounded picture. You need to have all the gospels there all together when you're reading. So let's take a look at the resurrection here. This is a chart I've got here for you. Ooh, I like that one. That's a good one. That's a good one. It's big and big letters. You can see it. And pretty simple. So, the Jewish day began with sunset. The Jewish day always begins with sunset. Last Saturday, was it last Saturday? Was it last Saturday? Was Passover? Yes. Last Saturday was Passover. A couple weeks ago, I texted Jan. I said, look at the moon. And she couldn't see it. I don't believe she really went outside and looked. I think she just said I couldn't see it. She knew it was cloudy, and she said, I can't. No, I'm just kidding. We just barely had a little glimpse of the clouds breaking open. You saw that little sliver of the moon. Looked it up. What day of the Jewish month is it? 1st of Nisan. You knew 14 days, or in 13 more days, it was going to be Passover. I like this late Easter. I was thinking today, you know how you get about into March, and, well, especially us, we put snow tires on Logan's car, and then about March, we're like, well, let's take them off, and then inevitably, what do people say? Well, back in my day, on June 1st, it snowed 3 inches. You know how that goes. This is one of those things. In 20 years, I can say, well, there was one Easter where it was 80, but there aren't many. But we've got that late Passover this year, and Easter's right there with it, which is a good thing. So it was a nice day. I even made them mow. Can you believe that? Made them mow on the Sabbath, right, Matthew? It's not the Sabbath, just kidding. All right, the resurrection. The Jewish day began with sunset, And during that time, at the very beginning of this chart, you've got the trials going on. You've got the Last Supper, the trials going on. And we get to 9 a.m. and Jesus is nailed to the cross. If you haven't heard, there's a man out there, his name's Todd Starnes, news guy. And he put out a thing last night that said, major Christian newspaper, and I thought we did decide it was founded by Billy Graham way back there. There was an article in it that said there was no evidence that Jesus was nailed to the cross. He simply could have been tied. I say go back and read here before we write an article like that. But that, even something founded by Billy Graham is just drifting away. But anyway, 9 a.m. he was crucified, nailed to the cross. And at 12, what happened? Darkness. Darkness. A darkness in other places in the world that was recorded so dark the stars were shining. It was dark. It was not a solar eclipse. It couldn't have been a solar eclipse because the moon was on the other side of the world at that time. It was a full moon. No solar eclipse. Deity was dying, and all creation groaned. Rocks split. The earth shook. So this was a major cosmic event. God himself laying down his life. So he died at 3 p.m. Now he's got to be buried before right here at 6 p.m. Has to be. There's no way around it. He's got to be in the ground by 6 p.m. Now we're going to look at some pictures, and I want you to put yourself in human position in those days and realize what all has to happen. Now, if you've had a loved one die at home, has anybody had that? It takes a little while, does it not, for arrangements to be made, for medical personnel to come and make the call, then for the funeral home to be contacted, then for the funeral home to... It takes a little while. There are things that need to be done, and there were things that needed to be done here. And there was no plan at 9 a.m. They didn't have a plan at 9 a.m. of what they were going to do before 6 p.m. They didn't know how long he was going to be on the cross. They didn't know he was going to die at 3 o'clock. All he did was cry out, and he just breathed his last. He bowed his head and died at 3 p.m. So now we've got a whole problem. Now he's died, and we have to get him buried. And you will see it is commonly taught that it had to be done before the Sabbath. That's true and not true. It was not the weekly Sabbath. This one says right here, it was a special Sabbath, a high day. This was the 14th of Nisan. This was the 15th. It's kind of like Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. We kind of run them together. Who opens Christmas presents on Christmas Eve? A lot of people do. And you celebrate Christmas. A lot of people have Christmas dinner on Christmas Eve. We kind of just link the 2 days. So these 2 days kind of all over the course of history kind of started going together. But God ordained that the 14th was always Passover, and the 15th was always the beginning, the first day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread. Okay? That was a high Sabbath, a special one. It's like a federal holiday. It's just one of those, it's not a weekend, it's one of those days through the week where everything stops in observance of something. Independence Day, Memorial Day, Labor Day, everything comes to a halt. Well, not everything, but for the most part. So he's got to be buried by that point, because all the law that was required to be followed on the Sabbath was also to be followed on this high Sabbath.
Now, come on now. Wouldn't it? He's God. He can slip a little bit there, can he?
Nope.
Huh?
No.
You sure?
I'm sure.
Wait, can he change stuff
Well, after he comes back, he can start that process. After he begins to write the law on the heart of man, he can begin to work things. But he never encouraged them to break the law. I believe you said that this morning, didn't you? He kept the law. He never encouraged them to break the law. Now, he did point out that the Sabbath was made for man, not man for the Sabbath. The Sabbath was made as a help for man. And there were certain times that things were done on the Sabbath. You look back at David. Anyway, we're going to bypass that just a little bit. But they have to be done. They cannot work on the 15th. They also cannot work on the 17th. There's a lot has to be done in those 3 hours between 3 p.m. and 6 p.m. So we're gonna come back to that chart, but I want to go to the area here. Now this picture's not going to be the best. Go back here. I cannot. You can find pictures of anything in this world except this one thing, and I have looked for years. I looked for an aerial picture, a picture from a drone or something that shows the garden tomb and Calvary in the same photo. It's very hard to find. So I resorted to Google Maps. You've got some frame of reference here. This is a bus. Ow. Something, I hope it wasn't a nail. It's a sharp piece though. This is a bus right here. So it gives you a little bit of like a tour bus. A little bit of frame of reference of the distance we're talking. This, you see these yellow blocks and stuff? That is a Muslim cemetery. And it is on the top. It is on what I believe is Mount Calvary. And Mount Calvary is right here. You can see, it's hard to see, but you've got some rock facing there. And right about here is where he would have been crucified. This is the top of the mountain. Calvary, cranion in the Greek. Summit, the top of Mount Moriah. I believe this is where Abraham offered Isaac as well. And when I went over there and they told me that, I thought, they are crazy. I believe it's the British Bible Society that owns this little piece right here. In the Muslim quarter, I'll add. So you've got this right here. This is a Muslim cemetery. I'm going to show you some pictures of about 100 years ago, too. So here is Calvary, and that green lettering up there is the tomb. It's not very far. There's a garden there. The garden probably didn't look exactly like it does today, but there is a wine press in there. There is a cistern in there where water was collected. So that gives you a little bit of frame of reference. The garden tomb is very close. I don't know how close distance-wise, but just a few bus lengths over through there. But it was not easy to get him from there to there. So I want you to think about this. He's dead. He's on Calvary. He's on the cross, and he has died. Go to that next picture there. He's on the top of that mountain up there. See those two eyeballs, what looks like two eyeballs? He's right on the very top of that hill. And he has died. It's around 3 o'clock, and we've got 2 hours and 58 minutes or 55 minutes to get him down and get him in the tomb because the Sabbath is coming. Okay? That's not an easy hike. But the first thing we've got to do is we get him down, we've got to have what? Somewhere to put him. We've got to have somewhere to put him. So Joseph of Arimathea has to go speak to who? Pilate. He's got to have permission to get the body. So that's the first thing we've got to do. He's got to go and seek an audience with Pilate. Probably not an easy thing on just a normal day, but even a little more, chances are a little more waning on this day because of all that's going on, all that they've caused him, all the chaos and ruckus. He's got to get an audience with Joseph of Arimathea, with Pilate. Pilate first has to confirm what? That he's dead. Is that man dead? Centurion, someone relays the message. He's dead. Joseph begs for the body. Begs for the body. He gets permission to bury him in a new tomb, very close by, very close by. And now we've got to. Now listen, the Romans are not gonna. They're not helping. They're under no pressure to have anybody down. They're not going to be violating any laws. They're just. Who knows how long it took the thieves to die after this? I don't think we have any reference to the time they died. We know their legs were broken to speed up the process, but they lived past Jesus. We know it was that day at some point, but we don't know how much longer it was, because Jesus said, today you will be with me in paradise. But clearly he died before them. So they've got to get him down. How in the world do you get somebody down from a cross? Anybody ever thought about that? First of all, you've got to take the nails out of the feet, of the wrists, right in this area right here. And then it's dead weight. Now, granted, he could have been just 6 or 8 inches off the ground, but still, it wasn't like they just threw him down on the ground. So carefully, they're having to take the nails out, get him down, and look where they are. They're up on that hill. Now, the tomb is away over there, and it's down here. It's on the flat part of the land. They got to get him down there. They got to carry him. And then we know that they did what? They wrapped him. Look in these verses are just coming alive more recently. If you look in verse 38 of John 19, we read this a little bit last week. We'll read it a little more tonight. And after this, Joseph of Arimathea, being a disciple of Jesus, but secretly for fear, besought Pilate that he might take away the body of Jesus, and Pilate gave him leave. He came therefore and took the body of Jesus. And there also came Nicodemus, which first came to Jesus by night, brought a mixture of myrrh and aloes, about 100 pounds weight. They've translated that a little bit. It was probably about 75 of our pounds. But just to show you the importance of how highly Jesus was thought of by these two men, the most respected, and this is recorded by Josephus, one of the most respected of all the Jewish teachers and leaders, Gamaliel, when he was buried, only had 50 pounds used in his burial. So this was something he was highly esteemed in the minds of these two men. Verse number 40, then they took the body and wound it in linen clothes with the spices, as is the manner of the Jews is to bury. Now in the place where he was crucified there was a garden, and in the garden a new sepulchre where a man had not yet laid. And they laid Jesus therefore, because the Jews' preparation day for the sepulchre was nigh at hand. They were in a hurry. On the next slide here, you're going to see, this is looking at Calvary from the ground level there. You'll see the buses. There's a bus station there. And that's the viewing platform. And from that picture we just saw a minute ago to now, about 100 years, there's no access now. You were able to get up there 100 years ago. But now, that Muslim cemetery is covered up. The whole top of that mountainside is covered. So you're looking here, and you can see how they got to get him down. They've got to get him down to the flat part. So, when the tomb was discovered in 1867, we didn't have the best way to photograph it, but I believe this artist rendered this in the 1890s. The garden tomb was discovered, and that is kind of when it was discovered, this is what it looked like. Now it's spread out now, huge garden. But when they discovered this tomb in that same rock face that Calvary is on, you can see the ground has come almost all the way up to the tomb. It's come all the way up. They had to do some excavating and pull it out just a little bit. Now they've made it, of course, the tourist attraction that it is, but it still is. It's one of the most peaceful places there is over there. There, the Church of All Nations, and really being out on the Sea of Galilee, out away from all the commercialism and things, were probably my favorite parts. I loved the Church of All Nations, being in there where the rock where he prayed was in Gethsemane. So go to the next slide there. This is a photograph later on. I don't have a year for this. Probably early 1900s. This is Jesus' tomb. Tom spoke this morning about this pathway for the stone, probably about 18 inches wide there. That is where it would have been. That's where the stone would have been rolled into place and held there by that little lip, that ledge. And you can see right here, this is not flat ground. So this tomb may have looked something, I started to look over there, it's not there tonight. May have looked something like this in Jesus' day. Tom said earlier, it's not a cave, it was hollowed out. And it's not, I mean, they're not impressive on the inside, not really. I mean, it's a place of dead men's bones. And really, does anybody know how long the bones were there? Huh? Who said that? About a year. About a year. They were in there about a year, and then the remains were kind of placed on a shelf later on and in different ways. But that was the Jewish way. But they had to, and then I'll show you this one right here. One last one. You can see now they've cleared out a bunch of that tomb, but you still have to stoop down to get in. It's like when John went in, and remember John just peeked in, and Peter had the intent on going in. He did not just slide in. You know how you see him, somebody runs across the kitchen floor and they just slide by? Didn't mean to go in that room and then come back. No, Peter had the intent. He had to stoop with the intention of going in. So this is where all of these events happened. This garden tomb and Calvary, all right there pretty close together. And they had to be done by 6 p.m. Go back to that the resurrection chart there, Caden. There we go. So, got to get him down. He dies at 3 o'clock. And before this line right here, we've got to beg for the body. We've got to get him down this mountain, moved into this tomb. Obviously, we see here they brought a lot of spices and aloes to begin the process of getting his body ready for burial. There's one thing we don't have done, which I believe is what would have been done when Mary came back, the greatest day in the history of earth not happened, or the greatest event. There's one more thing to go, but they just didn't have time. They had to prepare his body. When you go to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, the other place, the other Calvary in Israel, it's in this big church, there's a slab there that people, lay down and kiss and worship and bawl over, and they believe that's where his body was prepared to be put in the tomb. That very slab right there. That's what they say. That's where it happened. So all of this had to happen. It's like a Baptist dinner, y'all. We can eat and take 2 hours to eat, but it takes about 7.5 minutes to get all those tables put up and those chairs put up and everybody out the door. They were in a hurry. They were in a hurry. On top of all that, they're scared. They're in a state of grief. They're not in a good place. You don't think clearly when you're in that place. And then we have to have him in the tomb because we cannot work on Nisan 15. It is a high, holy day. We can't go to town. And that's one thing I forgot. Somebody, somewhere, has to go retrieve linens and get all those spices. All that has to happen in about a 2.5 hour window and get him carried into the tomb. Now you're going to see Mary Magdalene, she believes she's Superwoman and ready to carry the body of Jesus here in just a minute. But it probably took several people to get him in there. And then, as a Jew, you are now what? You're unclean for one of the holiest times of the year. A lot going on. You ever have those days where there's so much in your head that almost you forget everything about what to do? I can't imagine all that was going on in their minds that day. So what we've had here, verse number 1 of 20, you don't have this on the screen, but it said, the first day of the week, Mary Magdalene came early when it was yet dark. I believe it, because rising for sunrise service, it's going to be ready. It's going to be an early bedtime tonight. She got up early unto the sepulchre, and seeing the stone taken away from the sepulchre. We don't have the other women in this account, but we'll look at those later. But here it's just her point of view. She saw that it was gone. It's interesting, if you've noticed in the drama, some of the dialogue is, and you got to think this way too. This stone could have taken as many of 20 men to roll into place. Sealed by Pilate. They're going back on the first day of the week. How'd they think they were going to get in? I don't know how they thought they were going to get in. They were going back to finish the job. They could not do it on the Friday because they had to get everything ready. That's what they did on Friday. They got everything ready. You see in two Gospels, in two different Gospels, one says they got things ready before the Sabbath, and some say they got things ready after the Sabbath. You had to get part of it ready before, right here, on the Wednesday night. Then you got some ready here after that high Sabbath. But everybody just focuses on that word Sabbath and automatically thinks Saturday. When it's plain and clear in the Old Testament that the day after Passover was a high Sabbath. Anyway, they come to the tomb, and we read last week, John and Peter ended up running on. It took John just a few minutes, but he saw and believed. He believed in the resurrection. Did he understand it all? No way, not yet. There's no way any of them could. He told them at the Last Supper, when he was talking to them, he would send a comforter. And during hard times, that the comforter would bring his words back to them. And they would remember what he had said. And I can imagine all the things that they thought back and went, I get it now. I understand now. I see now. I see it and understand it. Back then I just saw it and didn't really understand the why. But they will. But Mary is still here. Remember, John did not see him and what? Believed. So let's look at verse number 10. Did I start with 10? I think I started with 10. No, I started with 11. But number 10 says this. Then the disciples went away again unto their own home. But Mary stood without the sepulchre, or outside the sepulchre, doing what? Weeping. She does not have the same mindset as John. Because John, what? Believed. John's not weeping. John's running after Peter. He's running after Peter. He believed. He's running back. Mary stands here weeping. And as she wept, she stooped down and looked into the sepulchre. Now, the two fellas did not see what Mary saw. They saw different things. They examined the grave clothes, all these spices. Oh, and by the way, the spices, when they put that amount on there, it was really for one thing. At this point, it was for odor control. Because they know they're going to have to what? Come back. There's one thing that they did not do that is always done to Jewish bodies, and we don't have any record of it. They wash it and clean it. And they clean the body. They no doubt would have taken care to clean his wounds. And being as he was beyond recognition, he had a lot of wounds, a lot of scars. And they would have, that was probably on their list of things to do, to really and properly get him ready for burial. I don't know if that meant they were going to go in and tear all those back open and get him ready. Whatever it was, they were going back to do something. And that was probably the one thing that they really had on their mind, was to wash him. There's no way they had time to do that before they got him ready for burial. So she looks in and she sees 2 angels. Now, these angels do not say something that you see a lot of angels say to people when they see them. Fear not. They didn't. Did they say that? No. No, fear not. Which means she has not yet what? Recognized that they're angels. She sees 2 angels in white, one sitting at the head, the other sitting at the feet, where the body of Jesus was laying. And they said unto her, Woman, why weepest thou? Why are you weeping? And she said unto them, she is still defeated. She is still defeated here. She has these 2 men in here. She's probably not had the opportunity to inspect the grave clothes like John and Peter did. She is probably tear-filled eyes. Her heart is weak. She's very low right here. And she says, they have taken away my Lord, and I know not where they have laid him. Now, they think, the bad guys, they think the disciples did it. And Mary thinks somebody else did it. That's proof that nobody did it but God. And the one thing that you know there was no conspiracy on the part of the good guys, they're bringing spices. If they had stole the body, why would they be going to finish preparing it for burial? The spices, they have a testimony of their own. They are proof that there was no foul play. Not that we need that proof, but someone may see that and go, why would they bring spices if they were the ones who abducted his body? So anyway, and when she had thus said this, she turned herself back and saw Jesus standing, and knew not that it was Jesus. I almost did this picture. What is it you call it when you bring a prop out? What? Object lesson. I started to, it might have been, I started to come out here with my hat on, my baseball cap on backwards, and wonder if anybody, people don't see me that way very often. I go incognito around town a lot. People don't know you. But because they're not looking for you in that way. They're looking for you how they always see you. Have you ever, I don't know if I've ever, you probably, well you have, but I've rarely seen Tom without a white shirt and a red tie. We don't look for him in any other form or fashion. She did not know it was him. Now what's changed with Jesus? Her last image of him is the crucified Jesus on the cross, bloodied, telling her, woman, behold your son, son, behold your mother. That's the wrong Mary, but she's there, she's at the cross. The other Mary heard that, but she's there. She sees a crucified Jesus. She sees a dead body. But what she doesn't realize is there's been a change. He's now what? He's glorified. I don't know how he looks today. I mean, other than what we have in Revelation, we see him pictured there. But here, he was there in his glorified body. She did not know that it was him. She wasn't looking for him. Her eyes are full of tears. There's a lot of real human things going on with her. She's not looking for him. And he said unto her, Woman, why are you weeping? Who are you looking for? Whom do you seek? And she, supposing him to be the gardener. Can you imagine her telling this story all these years later? I thought it was the gardener. And it was, we need to put that in a play. Maybe have Mary recounting her story one of these days. And so I thought it was the gardener. thought it was the gardener, and said, "Sir, if you've taken him, just tell me where you've laid him, and I will take him away." Now, we don't have any indication that Mary was a bodybuilder. But you've got a full-grown Jewish man on top of being covered in 75 pounds of spice, and she says, I'll take him. That's her devotion. I'll take him. I'll drag, carry, whatever I have to do. I'll go get him. If you've taken him away, just tell me where he is. Her devotion was real. Her devotion is rewarded. It really is. We don't know a whole lot about her. We know she had how many demons? 7 demons. We know she was forgiven. We know that she was healed. We know that she was there a lot of the time. We don't know a lot about Mary Magdalene. But we know that Jesus loved her and rewarded her greatly here. And I'm going to tell you another thing that's very uncommon. She becomes the first what of his resurrection? Eyewitness. In a world where a woman's eyewitness testimony was null and void. Special. He loved her. And he said unto her, Mary. See, John saw, examined, and all that. But Mary heard. And when she heard him say her name in the way he had said her name all those many, many years, 3 years or more, she knew. And she turns to him and says, Rabboni, which is to say, some translations say, teacher. The King James says, Master. Master. And Jesus said unto her, touch me not. And that in the Greek, do you know what that means in the Greek? Anybody ever studied that? I think, Tom, you've studied Greek. It's called a present imperative. That means you are doing it. And it preaches well that she could defile Jesus. I used to worry when I was a new Christian and that we were told about these glorified bodies that we would have in the resurrection and that we would come back to earth with Christ ruling and reigning and being here. I thought, I don't want to. Because I thought, what if I sin again? But you can't. You're in a glorified body. She's not corrupting him. The Greek says, Mary, you're clinging to me. Stop it. You are clinging. Stop clinging. Okay? Not as you low down dirty dog. You're going to make me dirty. She's got a job to do. And so does he. He's got to ascend to the Father. For I have not yet ascended to my Father, but you. What I need you to do, Mary, is to stop clinging and go what? Tell. Go tell. That's what I need from you right now. Later, they do feel him. And he does give the invitation. Touch me. But touch me not, for I am not yet ascended to my Father, but go to my brethren and say to them, I ascend unto my Father and your Father, and to my God and your God. And Mary Magdalene came and told the disciples she had seen the Lord. That wonderful song, I have seen the Lord. And that he had spoken these things unto her. Mary was the first one to hear a post-resurrection Jesus. Go tell. In her amazement and her bewilderment, in all that was going on. What a range of emotions here. Can you imagine? You ever had busy days? Soap's never busy. Are you? Soap does a lot. Zan's never busy. Are you? You're just tired. And inevitably, what else happens? Now, those might be normal things you're tired over, and then something bad happens. And you're just tired. But you got to what? Got to keep going. You've got to live. That's life. I always say it this way: have anybody ever gotten the phone call that your kid has wrecked? Have you ever gotten that phone call? Four? I think 4 times. All three of them. And boy, Mama's either mad or sad or scared. And you are, but immediately when you realize something is okay, my mind goes to, what do we got to do? You're fine. What do we got to do? We got to get it towed. We got to, you got to do all these things. You got to call the insurance company. You got to get all this stuff done. That's it. The worst is over. Everything's okay. Yeah, it's inconvenience, but you have to keep going. You have to start making decisions. He says, Mary, you know it's me. You've heard me. You've acknowledged that it's me. Stop clinging and go tell. Go tell. That's really what we need to do. We have heard. If you have heard and believed the word of the Lord, accepted the word of the Lord, made him the Lord of your life, on Easter, we take a moment, we pause, and we celebrate that. But our job is still what? Go tell. Mary heard him say her name, and the first thing he tells her is go tell somebody. Stop clinging to me. It's okay. Everything is great. I am risen. Now go tell. I've got something I've got to do, but I'll be back. Go tell. And that's what he tells us. Everything is all right. I'm up here working, but I'm coming back. Just go tell. Go live a life in front of people and tell people who Jesus is and what he did for you. Very simple. And you remember the first time you heard and got it? Wow. That's Mary right here. She hears Mary. God's call specifically to her. She responds and says, Master. And all he says is, hey, all's good. Go tell. And that's what we have to do. Go tell. That's what we're called to do. Right, Jana? Tell these kids. Tell them all. Ronnie? That's right. So, and it was not, like I said, it's not an easy time for them in this. But Jesus says, I'm here. It's okay. Go tell them. Yes, ma'am.
I want to share briefly what the children have said this morning. I feel like you all need to know. It was hard questions after we went through crucifixion last week, and I had the whip and the nails and the crown of thorns. I brought them all back last week. Elle was so precious. She's just 4 years old, but she said, I remember everything you said. And she did. It was questions like, Miss Janet, why was there 3 nails? Why couldn't there have been 4? Why 4? Why'd they have to do his feet like that? Well, Miss Janet, why 39 lashes? You said 39. Why not more? Why not less? But the thing that they loved the most, and Lisa was meant to put that right there. So we moved the stone over, and I said, it took many men, thousands of pounds. And I said, but we're going to push it out of the way. I was using my finger pushing it. And I said, that's what God could have done. Took his finger, one little angel, pushed that stone. Matter of fact, God might have just went, and it blew out of the way. I said, what's about that God? Took the and said, that's an awesome God. Don't tell me they're not listening.
They're listening.
I know they're listening. It was a precious time this morning. It was a precious time.
This could be the last Easter.
Right.
Could be. Could be the last Sunday. Maybe no more services. Go tell. Live it in front of somebody. Smile. Be nice. You know, people know you're a churchgoer most of the time by the way you're dressed and you go out and eat after this. Be nice. Talk to them. Be nice. We got to be a witness. Be a witness of Him. It is Easter. Everything is okay. He's risen. Go tell somebody. That's what we got to do. And we got opportunity. You got opportunity coming up. You got Bible school. You got all kinds of opportunities coming up. But I'll hush now.
I don't know why. I do know why. God did not impress me, us, to put that on young. It always goes over
Yep.
there. And I don't know why. Now, I just actually didn't feel that to do it. I don't know why. When I saw what Loretta was doing with the cross, then I knew why. Over there. Because that always takes precedence over the cross, but not now, because of today. And then the children had this object lesson
Yep.
right here in front of them. And we got a lot of mileage out of that thing. And they see it. One of them, I heard one of them talking about the King of Kings last Sunday going down the hall. Elle was talking about the King of Kings.
Huh.
They are listening.
They are. Anybody else? All right. Miss Ronnie, I'll have you close us out if you don't care, and we'll go enjoy this last few hours of Easter.
Heavenly Father, we do thank you for the Lord. Yes, thank you.
Amen.
Jesus paid it all to Him I owe. Sin had left a crimson stain, He washed it white as snow. Lord, now indeed I find Thy power in Thine alone can change.